y'all. So I decided to make a relatively personal video as like another story time. I don't even know if I'm gonna post it. Obviously, if you're watching it, you know I posted it. But it's something I don't really talk about, nor do I like to talk about it because I just feel like no one wants to hear about it, or like no one understands, or no one actually cares. That's my mental health journey. I recently watched my friend Nicole's video about her journey and how she opened up about it and like how she's doing now, and it really inspired me to open up about my own journey. Here goes. So I'm gonna start back freshman year of high school. So I had been bullied in middle school for a while. It was on and off. It wasn't like consistent. It would happen on and off. I didn't really talk about it. No one really said anything about it. It seemed like it was supposed to be the norm. In middle school, I was insecure. I'm still insecure now, but back then I was younger. I didn't understand that being made fun of wasn't like the school norm. Naive, I know. But freshman year of high school, I was terrified because I had to start at a new school. And I have never been like someone who's happy about change or just like takes in change like it's some easy situation. Change has always been difficult for me, always. It still kind of is, but it's gotten easier now. So freshman year started, and I tried my best to be who everyone wanted me to be. Then I found myself not being myself. So I joined the cheerleading team. Now, I hated cheerleading, but I stuck with it because I told myself, oh, you're never going to quit anything. You can't quit things. You're not a quitter. And all through this entire time, through my entire life, I've been a dancer. So doing cheerleading was like two completely different things, and I was not prepared for it. I hated it. I wanted out. So as soon as freshman year was over, I quit cheerleading. And I'm very happy that I did. Like, don't get me wrong, like the people on the team were so sweet. The coaches were pretty nice, and I got along with everyone, and it was nothing bad to do with the team. I just didn't personally feel like I fit in. Halfway through freshman year, I started to be even more insecure with myself. So I completely changed almost everything about myself. I cut my hair. I changed my eyebrows. I started wearing different clothes. I started doing my hair differently. I started doing my makeup differently. Like all different things I could do to not be myself and to be someone who fit in. That continued through sophomore and a little bit of junior year. And I was starting to think that the person I had made myself to be was actually me, which to an extent that was true because I never changed myself personality-wise. I was still the same person. I just looked different. And I got a little bit more confidence from the way I looked because I fit in. Fast forward to senior year. The summer before, I was so excited. I was like, oh, senior year is going to be the best year. Everyone says, oh, senior year is your best year. And I went into senior year happy, hopeful. I was so excited. And that's when it started to go downhill. So I hit a really rough patch in October of last year. And I was extremely depressed. I had extreme anxiety. And I told one of my closest friends that that was how I was feeling. And she told the guidance counselor, and I talked to the guidance counselor. I ended up being set up with a therapist. And it was slowly helping, but it wasn't helping as much. But I started to regain my happiness when I was selected to be part of a ballet group for competition. And I finally felt like I had a purpose and I had something to make me feel special. That's where I ended up getting really, really close with one girl in that group. And she was and still is one of my best friends. And I would talk to her about everything, and like we had a very special bond, and we still have a bond now. It's just a little different. We had like this borderline mother-daughter relationship because she's so much younger than I am. Actually, not really that much, but she's younger than I am, and I took on like a motherly role to her. It started as an inside joke, and then it developed into this bond that we had, and we got really close. And things were going great. I was starting to feel better. She was going through something, so I was there to help her, and being there to help her helped me to realize that I do have a purpose, and I do have friends, and I do have a reason to be here. And then the summer going into college, I went to Florida with one of my other best friends. I have 5 best friends, in case you were wondering why I'm saying one of my. So I went to Florida with her. Every time I went to Florida, in the past, not necessarily just this year, something bad has happened when I got home. Like when I went I want to say my sophomore year into my junior year, that summer, I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend after that. And it was heartbreaking, but it happened. There's been like family health issues when I've gotten back from Florida, and just going to Florida and going to Disney seems to have a bad rap for me, even though I have so much fun when I'm down there. When I get home, something bad always happens. I am terrified of planes. So I was texting my friend, this girl that I had gotten close to, and I had texted her and I was like, hey, I'm freaking out. I don't want to get on this plane, blah, blah, blah. I'm so scared. And I was like, can you FaceTime for a little bit because I'm terrified and I'm freaking out. And she texted me, she says, no, I'm sorry. I'm on the phone with one of my other friends. I'm so sorry. Like, I wish I could help. And I was like, no, that's perfectly okay. So I continued to get ready, and out of nowhere, she called me. And I was like, oh, hey. And she's like, yeah, I told my friend I'd call her back later because I could tell you actually needed me. And I was like, that's a true friend right there. Like, that helped to calm me down before I got on the plane. Now, stuff like talking about this like gets me a little bit emotional, so I'm sorry if I start crying at any point. But all throughout Florida, I was having a good time. I was obviously missing my friend because like we had talked every single day, like FaceTiming every single day, every single night, talking 24/7. Like we had this connection and this bond that was like so close, and it was like nothing like I had ever had before. Like I was never this close with a friend before, and I loved it, and it was great. And I was so happy. And then for some reason in Florida, I got hit with another wave of like strong depression. And I was talking to my friend about it, and she was helping me through it. She was there for me for the whole time. And then I was getting on the plane to come home, and she texted me. She's like, talk to me throughout the whole plane ride. I'll help to keep you calm. And I was like, okay, perfect. Sounds great. Thank you so much. I land, and we were supposed to FaceTime when I got home because I couldn't FaceTime her when I was in Florida because I was with one of my other friends. So I didn't want to be rude and like put all my attention to my friend who was back at home rather than the one I was down in Florida with. So when I landed, I texted her. I was like, hey, we're going out to dinner, and then I'll call you when I get home. She didn't answer me, and I was a little confused as to why. So then I was texting her later that night, and I was like, hey, is everything fine? Like, are you okay? And I was starting to get a little worried because, like, she had been dealing with some stuff that was similar to I had been dealing with. I was always worrying about her because, like, I didn't know if she was going to do something. I didn't know if I was going to lose her. I always wanted to know that she was okay because we were so close, like, and she had changed my life for the better and made me a better person. So I was texting her, and she wasn't answering me. I was spamming her phone, which I know I shouldn't have done because that was stupid. But she eventually texted me and said, hey, one of my family members passed away. I just need some time to relax and get my emotions together. And I was like, okay, if you need anything, let me know. I know how rough it can be losing a family member. And we left it at that. The next morning, I Snapchatted her every single morning, and I was like, hey, good morning, how are you feeling, blah, blah, blah. So I did that, and that was the normal, and she Snapchatted me back, and she was like, I'm fine, like, don't worry about me, I'm okay. And I was like, okay. And this was a Friday morning, I remember that. So we were having a small conversation, and out of nowhere, she just left me on open, and she doesn't do that. Like, she never leaves people on open. She always answers them right away, or if she doesn't want to talk to them or can't talk to them, she just won't open the message to begin with. So her leaving me unopened was kind of like a red flag for me. I tore myself apart that day because I didn't know what I had done to hurt her, and I didn't know what I had done to ruin our friendship, or like if I had said something that hurt her and I didn't know. And so I went through the whole day texting her, asking her if everything was fine. I even texted her best friend and I was like, hey, have you heard from her? Like, is she okay? And she's like, no, I haven't heard from her, but if she's not answering, give her space. And I was like, okay, obviously she doesn't understand everything that the two of us had been through and how much she could need me right now, but she was so afraid to talk to me about it. And I told the best friend that, and I was like, I need to make sure she's okay. I need to know that she didn't do anything. I need to know that I didn't just lose my best friend. And she's like, I'm sure she's fine. And then I just kept texting her. I tried calling her, nothing. She wasn't answering me. And of course, I was set into a panic and I didn't eat the whole day. I was so worried I could not eat food. I couldn't do it. And then later that night, my friend was with her best friend at a basketball game. And she Snapchatted me and she says, hey, I just need some time to cope. I need some time. And I was like, okay. I said, text me when you're feeling better. And she says, okay. So I believe they slept over her best friend's house that night because I remember her Snapchatting me that night. We weren't really talking, but we were just sending pictures back and forth, which was a norm if we didn't have anything to talk about or she didn't want to talk about something. So I just took that and I just relaxed and I went with it because I was like, okay. She's coping, but she'll still keep in contact with me. The next morning, I got some Snapchats from her, and then the same thing happened again. Nothing. This went on for a few days, and then one day, I think it was 2 days before her birthday, I went to bed after talking to her for a little bit, and I randomly, out of the blue, had a feeling that I should wake up. So I woke up, and then I rolled over, and I checked my phone, only to see that she had either unadded or blocked me on Snapchat. I immediately started bawling my eyes out because I knew in that exact moment that I had lost my best friend. And it hurt, like, so much, to a point where I texted Nicole and I was like, hey, I really don't want to be alone right now. I feel like I'm alone right now because the one person that I would turn to for everything just completely cut me out. So she was there for me that whole time. And then she's like, Victoria, I'm worried about you. You should talk to your parents. So I went and I woke up my dad at 1 o'clock in the morning. And he stayed in my room with me in the rocking chair all night so that I wasn't alone. He had to go to work the next day. And I was just at home and I didn't want to be alone. So I was on the phone with one of my friends almost all day, completely torn apart, bawling my eyes out every 2 seconds. And I was devastated, and I felt like she didn't care at all. Like she didn't know what I was going through. She didn't know how much it was affecting me. And I just felt like I ruined everything, and I didn't know why. So then her birthday came by, and I didn't want to be mean, so I sent her one of those generalized Facebook happy birthday messages because I didn't want her to think that I hated her, even though I felt like she hated me. She never replied to it. I never got a notification that she liked it. I don't even know if she even saw it. But I did that, and I knew that she knows how much I care about her. She knows how much I love her, and I still do, but she knows that I don't hate her. That went on for a month or so, and I knew I was going to be seeing her very soon. I remember I was dreading going to this one thing that I knew I had to go to, and I was dreading going. I almost quit altogether, and I almost didn't go back ever because I was so nervous of what was going to happen. So I showed up, I saw her, we didn't talk, we didn't make eye contact. It just felt like when she did look at me, and I knew she saw me and I knew she knew I was there, it looked like she saw I was there and would rather I have not been there. And that killed me. From that moment, I saw her and I was like, I know she doesn't want me around anymore. Like, she wants nothing to do with me. And that hurt so much. So, after a couple weeks of that, I texted her and I was like, hey, can we be civil whenever we have to go to this place? Because I knew we were going to be going there for 4 weeks straight, and I knew I was going to see her for 4 weeks straight. So I was like, hey, can we be civil when we go there so I don't have to feel like you hate me? And she's like, yeah, we can be civil. And I finally felt happy and I got some reassurance and I relaxed a little bit. Before that, we hadn't talked for 22 days. And the only reason why I knew it was 22 is because I couldn't bring myself to eat for 22 days. Because I was so devastated. Because best friend breakups are worse than boyfriend breakups. And I can easily say that firsthand. After that, we agreed to be civil. But as I was going to this place and she was there, she was still ignoring me, still making me feel like I don't exist, making it feel like she didn't want me to exist. And it was tearing me apart. So before the last week that we were going to go to this thing, I texted her again, explaining how I felt and how it was making me feel. And we ended up getting into an argument about it a little bit. And then she was like, friendships end. And I was like, that killed me. I cried and cried and cried. And then I was like, but you said, and I was saying all these different things, and she had told me in the past that I was never going to lose her. And then I lost her, and it was awful. And then I asked her, hey, is this true? And she says, no, where did you hear that? And I told her where I had heard it, and we ended up talking back and forth about different stuff that we had heard regarding our situation, and we found out that it had all been lies, and that everything we were hearing about our situation wasn't true. So we were able to talk through it, and she added me back on Snapchat, and we've been talking ever since, and things are relatively back to the way they were before. It's never going to be the same, I know that, and she's made that very clear, and I'm just happy with the fact that she and I are friends again, and I'm never going to forget what happened because it hurt so badly, and I felt like I was 10 times more alone than I had been in the past because she had gotten me through so much, and not having her there was devastating, especially after she had told me that she wasn't going anywhere. I thought without her in my life, I didn't have anyone. I felt 100% alone. That moment that I saw that she had unadded me from Snapchat, immediately felt like I was alone. Immediately. But now that everything has worked itself out and she doesn't 100% know my side of the story and how I was feeling, and I don't know hers because we don't talk about it because we tried to let it go and we don't want to like work up some bad blood or anything because it's relatively in the past now. It got better, and I'd like it to leave it as getting better rather than bring up the past. So after that ended, and that was like the biggest turning point for me, I started going back to my therapist. I started talking to more people about it. I started staying close with my family and talking to them about it. And I still talk to her about it too. And she comes to me for stuff too, which is great because I feel like if I'm helping her, it helps me. I've been 10 times more happy since I knew I was getting the help that I needed. And I knew I could be there for my friend, and she and I are back to being close again. And like I said, it's not going to be how it was in the past. And who knows? Maybe eventually, after years, it could get back to where it was, but it's going to take time and healing from both of us, and we both completely understand that, and I completely understand that, and I do still love her. I do still care about her because she's one of my best friends, and she's helped me through so much that I can't just leave that. I always have this bracelet on, but I refuse to take it off, and I never take it off. And the one time I took it off, I dropped it down the drain, and my dad had to fish it out. Whenever this was going down, I had it on, and I was like, I would sit there and I would play with it, like remembering, like she was my best friend and like one of my best friends, and she still is, obviously, like I said that. But I was like, it's gonna work out. Everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be back to the way it was. It's gonna be okay. And that was my one thing that helped me to hold on to hope. The one thing that I had, because I couldn't talk to her. I couldn't see her without almost bawling my eyes out. I still wear the bracelet. She has a matching one that I had gotten us. Yeah, that has been my mental health journey. I'm sorry that this turned less into a mental health journey and more into a what happened between me and my best friend story. But that was basically a summary of how I had been feeling my entire time that I was depressed or had anxiety. And I still have symptoms of that, but they're a lot less evident now. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope if you feel like you need help, you're not afraid to talk to a friend or talk to a parent or talk to a teacher or talk to someone about it, because you can get more help than you think that you can. And you're definitely not alone, and always make sure, like, you don't know what other people are going through. But let them know that they're not alone, because they'll never be alone and you'll never be alone. And I know now that I'm never going to be alone, because I have so many good people in my life that have helped me through so much. My best friend and like Nicole and my other best friends, like all of them have been there for me in different ways at different times, and I couldn't be more thankful for them. And sure, I have my ups and downs with them, but in the end, I know they're always going to be there for me, and I know that they know I'm always going to be there for them. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.